So we've already passed the first stage of discovery. So by now you probably would have discovered some new things about your friend. Yeah. And the good thing about it is it helps to enrich your friendship. But what do you do from there? You get to synthesis. Now, synthesis is actually a very tricky phase because you got to go deeper. If coming up with deep dive questions was already challenging, synthesizing is another challenging part because you got to look for opportunities. But to do that, you got to learn to see things between the lines, all right? So looking at your data wall of answers is one thing, but what are you looking for? You're looking for something unusual. You're looking for something outstanding. But at the same time, you're looking at gaps which can actually bring you to that great opportunity. And in this case, that great opportunity will help you to come up with a really fantastic idea on what to get for your friend. All right. And in the real setting where when I deal with corporate clients, it is when you look at insights that lead you to opportunities that can help, you know, big organizations to come up with multi-million dollar solutions, right? That is how critical it is to synthesize, all right? Now, if you are a degree student or a master student, a doctorate student, the word synthesis is actually part and parcel. Okay, let me give you an example. All right. So, Procter and Gamble, they hit a plateau in ideation. So, if you are familiar with Procter and Gamble or P&G, it is known today as they're known for shampoos, detergents, So, even your hair dyes and so forth. So, after decades of success, it actually hit a creative plateau. The directors didn't know what else to do. You either upgrade the packaging or you upgrade the detergent in terms of fragrance and so forth. So, but at the same time, you need to come up with a new idea. So, what do you do? So, this is where they applied design thinking. Now, this is actually based on true events. Yeah. So, Procter and Gamble, okay, they sent out their executives into people's homes. I kid you not. So they sent out the executives into people's homes to observe how they clean the floors. And this is what they discovered from pure observation. And this is the best thing about design thinking. Once again, it's not about them, it's about the user, right? So they observed that when people when people clean even their floors, there seemed to be a ritual where they would first they will change. They will change their clothes and slip into something a little bit more grubby and a little bit more less they'll put on their gritty clothes and so forth, all right? And then when they've done that, only then they look into what they're going to use to clean the floor and so forth. And then there's the steps where, water, this, that, da, da, da. Now, the executives, they counted. There were more than 7 steps, right? There were so many steps to help people literally clean their floors. Okay? And they also noticed there seems to be like a ritual when people want to clean their floors, from what they wore to what they use to how they clean their floors. So imagine if you are an alien from outer space and then you come down to Earth and you're looking at people cleaning the floor. You probably think it's some sort of religious ritual and that involve changing your clothes and this and then so forth, right? But this is when the executive realized there must be a better way to shorten the process, save time, resources, and energy, right? And so through their discovery phase, through observation, they came up with the idea of cutting down the number of steps for people to clean. And then they came up with an idea on the apparatus to use or the gadget to use to clean. What can you do to cut the number of steps and to make the cleaning process less tedious and more efficient. All right, and if possible, make you what do you call it? It doesn't make you as sweaty and as dirty. Yeah. Now, what they discovered was by doing all of this thing, by reducing the steps, by reducing the time, blah, 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 they came up with this idea of the Swiffer. You probably know the Swiffer as that mop that uses a piece of cloth at the end of it, right? Now that Swiffer actually, when it first came out, it actually helped P&G to generate 500 million USD. A simple idea that uses design thinking from just observation by going into the user's home, by putting themselves in the user's perspective, and they came up with an idea of the Swiffer. But the barometer for success of the Swiffer is that it brought in 500 million USD per annum for Procter and Gamble. And until today, you can see the Swiffer in supermarkets, and I think it gave birth to so many imitation versions of the Swiffer, right? Okay. Now, you may not think the Swiffer was actually something that came from design thinking, but it goes to show you that design thinking is such a unique problem-solving concept that you should not underestimate the process, because every step is very, very crucial. Right? So for Procter and Gamble, it was a success story because it brought in so much more profit for something that was so simple, but for the user, it saved up so much time, and it made cleaning less hassle. Okay, in fact, it made cleaning more fun because the Swiffer, if you've used one, it has such a mobile head. It can go into corners and so forth. Yeah, so they made cleaning more fun and efficient. Okay, so that was an example of how the executives at P&G saw an opportunity in something that we take for granted on a daily basis. And that is how we look at insights. Insight is looking at these kind of opportunities. But to do that, you got to step back, right? And because only by stepping back will you be able to sort of like look at things differently. All right? So that is why when it comes back to your assignment, you got to look at your data wall and you got to step back, all right, and have a look at the themes that you have identified. So now we're looking at the themes. Remember, I asked you previously to segmentize your data according to commonalities. Now, this is where you look at the themes and see what is outstanding about it. All right. Okay. I'm going to give you another example.
Okay.
Tata Nano. Okay.
Okay.
So another example of how you can actually gain opportunities from insight is the case study of Tata Nano. Now, Tata Nano, if you've not heard of it, okay, Mr. Chow, do you know Tata Nano? Have you heard of it? No. Perfect. Okay. So it's actually the world's smallest and most compact car.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So the idea behind the Tata Nano car was because in India, where there is an overpopulation issue, okay, the idea by the executive was to create a car that was highly affordable for the lower income bracket, yeah, community. So that means for the executives, they felt that it would be safer for the lower bracket in a community to be able to travel, put their family, yeah, into a vehicle rather than on a motorcycle without the proper headgear, okay? But at the same time, make it so affordable that literally anyone can afford a car. Now that sounds like a really good idea, right? And for the directors behind Tata Nano, they thought that they hit on a gold mine. It was going to be a success. So they thought that was the opportunity there. You've got poor people, you've got safety issue, they've got big families. Everybody wants to drive because if you can drive in a car, it says something about your social status, right? That was what the directors thought. And in other words, they were imposing that idea. Now, it turned out to be a big, big failure. And this is where you need to understand where sometimes what you think could be an opportunity may not be a good one. So here's what happened. So the Tata Nano car was a flop because when they interviewed the people, right, from the lower income bracket community, they said that we do not want to own a car where the whole world looks at us and say that, oh, that's the cheapest car. And that pushes down their social status even worse. So you have to understand. So where did they go wrong? Where did the directors go wrong? They did not connect with the
Sure.
users. They assumed that there was an opportunity in the market for the community, but they did not have that conversation. They did not do proper research that involved the community. So when the car was created, so you can imagine waste of resources. So when the car was created, it became a massive flaw. Only then they did their research and discovered that the poor people did not want to drive a car. They don't want to drive that car. They want to drive a car, but they don't want to drive that car because that car was going to reveal their social status to everybody. Yeah. So they would rather ride a motorcycle, right, than have a Tata Nano vehicle with 4 doors. So it goes to show you that you really need to do sufficient research, but at the same time, when you have quality proper data, then you can look at the proper gaps and opportunities, right? And you can gain the right insight. Now, why am I telling you this? It's because this is how people tend to misread their data. And this is where you have to put aside your biasness, because when you impose your biasness, it is where you can lose so much money. It's a complete waste of time. All right. So going back to how to develop insight and what do you need to do at this point? Okay. First, you need to go back to your data wall, have a look at your data, and this is where you need to once again peruse through each post-it. Okay. Take a Sharpie. All right. A Sharpie is recommended in design thinking because it's a lot more striking on those vibrant post-it colored notes, right? Yeah. So you can use a regular pen, but we recommend a Sharpie. It stands out, especially for the next step. So look at every single point that you have. That means look at every single post-it that you've gathered. Look out for what is outstanding, unusual, what has something that has potential to go broader, potential for you to explore further. So these three things. Now what you do is you put a star on that post-it. You put a star on each of those post-it. So now you're doing what we call like a filtration. So look at every post-it to identify what is unusual. Now, remember, you have already separated what are the less efficient answers. So look out for what is unusual, what is outstanding, and what has potential to go further, to go deeper. All right. So put a star on that. And what I need you to do is, or what is recommended is, you take out the ones that you've already identified with a star and put it on another section of your data wall. So from there, you have already identified, okay, these are the highly potential ones that I can use to explore further to seek opportunities. Right? So, okay, here's what you can do, yeah? So once you put a star, all right, so for each state, ask yourself whether the quote or observation has a broader meaning. That means, what kind of pattern do you see? Now, what you want to avoid would be universal truth or something that's very general. All right. So if the answer or the data on the post-it is something that's very normal, very usual, like, oh, I enjoy Italian food, for example. There's nothing exciting or extraordinary about it. So that won't warrant for further investigation. Okay? But if an answer is something like, I find it very exciting when somebody gives me a gift that has texture. Okay, that has potential because texture could mean a lot of things, right? And it warrants for further investigation. So you put a star on that particular post-it, put it aside, and that can be seeked into further. Okay, so and then what you do is you put them on one a different section of the wall, and then again, one more time, you need to look at recurring themes. So this would be the second time you're already going to segmentize your data according to themes. All right. But this time we're doing this because we're trying to look deeper into opportunities. Okay.
Analysis.
And this is synthesization that what you're doing. All right. So look at what are some of the unusual things, or what are some of the patterns that you see from these selected post-its. And then write down anything that you notice about it. In other words, use a different color post-its and put down your thoughts by the side of it. All right. So in other words, a data wall is very important because it's your laboratory, right? So you will be looking at your data wall over and over and over again, because that is the best way for you to see something that might shine through from the ordinary. Okay? So Charles, so far clear?
Yep, good.
Okay. So what you want to do now is so when you have already identified the theme, so now you've already set aside the ones with the star and you see some kind of theme or recurring patterns, take another post-it, and this is where it's useful to get the broader post-its. This is the broader size post-its, yeah? Okay, so the broader size post-it is where you use it to write in a full sentence, what you think about this particular point of this particular theme and what kind of opportunities can be looked into further. All right. So in other words, you want to avoid writing in short points or in one or two keywords. You want to write it out in a full sentence. Now, what it means is here. Imagine if a friend is walking by and is looking at your data wall. By reading what you have written, by reading that one sentence on your post-it, he or she will be able to fully understand what is happening. So that's the kind of complete sentence that you should be writing. Because what we're doing now at this particular stage through synthesization is that we're trying to make better sense of the data which you collected from a conversation that you identified according to themes, motivations, from quotes and so forth. But now you're trying to strengthen it and trying to make it more lucid by putting it into a single sentence. It's just like when you're doing research. If you can compress your entire research into one succinct sentence, that it means you fully understand what you're doing. Right, Charles?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you've done that, you've completed the synthesize section, all right? And then you already have managed to identify what could be the opportunity. Now, you're nowhere near completion just yet. You're nowhere near solution. But what you have already achieved to this point is you have identified potential opportunities that can be explored further, which you will take into ideation.